So good morning, all of you. In React, we already know React is basically a component library. React is a component library, right? Component library. It means the complete React page is a collection of components or elements. Components or elements. But everything is what see, for example, every component is a JSX file. So we know what is a JSX means. We will have one simple video related about JSX, how the syntax JSX will be. So JSX means so JavaScript script with XML structure. JavaScript with XML, that is actually called JSX. Every component is JavaScript component here in the React, but inside the JavaScript component, you will be having the HTML element, HTML component. For example, this is the JSX. Every component is JSX. So based on the JS flavor, inside the JS flavor, you will be having the HTML content. You will be having the HTML content inside. So this is the component. Like this, there are multiple components you will be having on top of the React page. But now you may get understand, you need to get understand how these components are going to be dividing into the types. Components are declared or derived in two different ways. The one is functional component, and the one is a class component. Okay. Now we need to understand what is the meaning of functional component, what is the meaning of class component, and what are the benefits of the functional component, what are the benefits of the class component. But even functional component or class component, both are components. Both are going to be arranging on top of the React page. For example, this is the React page. This is the React page. Inside the React page, you will be having somewhere you will be having the class components. Somewhere you will be having the functional components. And inside the functional component, you may have a class component. Inside the functional component, you may have the class components. Or inside the class components, you may have the functional components. Both are going to be injected like this. Even inside the class component, this is the global level class component. Inside the class component, you may have the functional components inside. So the page architecture will be like this. Inside the class component, you may have multiple functional components inside. Inside the functional component, you will be having again functional components inside. So that is also possible. This structure is possible. This is called nested components. So we will see about the class component, we will see about the functional components, and we will discuss the pros and cons for the functional component, and we will see the pros and cons for the class component also. And we try to integrate nested level components also coming classes. Okay, so that is not an issue, but try to understand how to define a functional component and try to define how to define a class component and all. But remember one thing: functional component which is not having a straight life cycle, or state which is not having state, and functional component not having a life cycle. Functional component not having change methodology or change chain methods, and functional component only returns value. Only return value. Value is something like your HTML content. There is no render. There is no render concept with functional component. And functional component have only props. Let me tell you what about props and all later. Props are properties. Props are properties. And one more thing, props are immutable. Immutable means not changeable. So just come to this is about functional component rules and regulations. And functional component defined with function keyword. Functional component defined with function keyword. Or you can define functional component, or we can define functional component using with arrow function. Arrow functions. So when I come to the program, I will explain what about arrow functions. And come to the class component. Class component defined with class keyword. Class component defined with class keyword. And class component have props and states. Class component have state lifecycle methodologies or state lifecycle methods. State lifecycle methods. And one more thing, class component have render concept. And class component have, see, return is compulsory, render and return. Render, which will have return. Which will have return HTML HTML content. Okay, so we have class component, basically class component little bit slow in execution compared to functional component. Okay, one more important in latest React version, class components removed. Only functional components used. Only, okay, so let me keep this one as note point. In latest version React, class components removed, only functional components used. And state manages in functional components by hooks. Okay, so what is the concept of hooks and all we will discuss. This is the latest React. In latest React version, class components completely removed and only functional components we are using, but functional components we will be having hooks methodology. So we will discuss about the hooks methodology later. By using the hooks, we can able to manage the state in the functional component. So thank you. We'll discuss about the things later.